Thank you very much. I don't know who wrote that bio because it makes me sound very old. Okay. Well, got to be right here in front of the microphone, I've learned. Well, good morning. I know I walked around the room and tried to introduce myself to everybody, but if I haven't met you, please feel free to ask questions throughout my presentation because overall, it's very big picture, it's very strategic and conceptual because it's impossible for me to be specific to everybody's businesses here. But I have intentionally left time at the end for questions to address some of your specific concerns about your own business and your own marketing plan. So, okay. Well, I am really, really, really happy to see so many people here that want to learn how to create a kick-butt marketing plan. And the keywords in the title are kick-butt, because who wants a marketing plan that sucks, right? And by kick-butt, I mean a marketing plan that generates leads. I mean a marketing plan that achieves your business goals. I mean a marketing plan that increases your revenue. Because when it's done correctly, that's exactly what a marketing plan should do. So when she introduced me, she mentioned the WordPlay Marketing Academy. So this is a mini version of a workshop and an online course that I offer. Both are called How to Create a Kick-Butt Marketing Plan, but those are both longer formats, of course. They're more in-depth. They go into a lot more detail. So I have condensed all that information into 3 main sections today. Okay, so hopefully in these 3 sections, I'm going to try to address all of you because I'm guessing that all of you are in different places and different phases of your marketing program. And what I have found in my experience that people tend to fall into one of 3 categories, which is what I've got up there on that slide. Number 1, you've had a marketing plan or you have one right now, but it's really not working. You know, it's not producing the results that you want. In fact, I've talked to a couple people here in the audience, and you fit into that category. Number 2, you've never had a marketing plan, but you're really skeptical about what it is, why you need it, and if it can really have an impact on your business. Or number 3, you don't have a marketing plan, you know you need a marketing plan, and you have absolutely no idea where to start. I know there's some of you in the audience as well. So with that being said, here's the agenda for today. Part 1, we're going to talk about 5 ways a marketing plan can transform your business if it's done correctly. Part 2, 3 mistakes that will tank your marketing plan right out of the gate, and I see these made a lot. And part 3, 6 steps to create a kick-butt marketing plan. Okay. But first, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page about what a marketing plan is and what a marketing plan is not. So, on the left, in that left side column, I've got a list of characteristics of what a marketing plan is not. Rebecca, you and I talked about this a little bit ago. A marketing plan is not being reactive, being random, being sporadic. I call it the winging it strategy, and it's up here in your head. That's not what a marketing plan is. Instead, it's on the other side, the column on the right. It's proactive. Merriam-Webster defines proactive as acting in anticipation of future problems, needs, or changes. I mean, isn't that what we all need to be doing in our business? It's consistent. Consistency is the number 1 key to long-term results, and I'm going to be talking about that more in just a second. A marketing plan should be organized. A marketing plan should be strategic. One of my favorite sayings is, marketing is not magic. You know, I tell my clients, I don't wave a magic wand in the air and poof, things happen. There's planning, there's preparation behind the success. And a marketing plan is written down. It is a document that contains the who, what, when, where, why, and how of your marketing program. So hopefully that helps where we're going. Okay, here we go. Part number 1. Why do you need a marketing plan? One of my mottos for my business is the number one marketing tool every business needs is a plan. It's not Facebook. It's a plan. Across the board, every kind of business, B2B, B2C, product, service, it's a plan. That's your foundation. That's where you have to start. So I was meeting with a prospective client recently, and within a few minutes of our conversation, that sentence came out of my mouth. And he asked me a very good question. Why? Is a plan going to improve my marketing? Is a plan going to increase my business? And he was being sincere. He wasn't being sarcastic or snarky, but no one had ever asked me that before. Typically people just, nod their head and go along with me. So I thought about it for a second, and I was like, you know what? I am glad you asked that question. So I went through 5 reasons that his business needed a marketing plan. So those are the 5 things that I'm going to share with you in this first section. Oops. Jumped ahead. Come on. Okay. Number 1, a marketing plan will ensure that you communicate consistently. And again, consistently, consistency will make or break so many things, not only in your business, but just in life in general. I mean, workout program, that's definitely going to make or break whether if you're consistent or not. And again, consistency is the key to long-term results. But in most cases, consistency does not happen on its own. There has to be some motivation, some incentive, and a course of action to maintain the consistency. And that's where the marketing plan comes into play. It holds you accountable. Not only does it hold you accountable, but it documents your frequency. Because in your marketing program, there's going to be some things that you do daily, or you should do daily. Some things you're going to do weekly. Some things you're going to do monthly. Some things you're going to do quarterly. So it outlines the frequency, and then it assigns it to the different tasks. And I've got just a few examples up there of what I mean by that. And it could be an example of daily might be social media. You're posting to your social media channels on a daily basis. Maybe on a weekly basis, you're doing a blog or a podcast. Monthly could be a print ad. Quarterly could be an event. So, do you see where I'm going with that? It outlines the frequency and it outlines the task. And then the last bullet point I've got up there talks about value, providing value. And this speaks directly to the content that you're communicating, your messaging that you're putting out. It can't just be, your messaging, your content can't just be sell, 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 and all about you. It has to be a value to the client, not only to get their attention, but to keep them listening to you. And there's all kinds of different ways that you can do it, but 2 primary things to keep in mind are it needs to either educate or it needs to entertain. And if you're really good, it does both. Is anybody in here familiar or know Roger Wakefield with Texas Green Plumbing in Richardson? No? Okay. Well, you do, in the back. Okay. I met him last week on a LinkedIn Live show that I was watching. He was a guest on there. And Roger is obviously a plumber by trade, but he has also become a huge social media star and influencer because 3 years ago he fired his marketing agency and he took over his marketing program and his social media. So for whatever reason, he decided that he was going to focus his efforts on YouTube, not Facebook or Twitter or whatever, YouTube. And he started producing videos. And not just, one video a month or, one video here and there. He took consistency, the bull by the horns, and he started producing 2 to 3 videos a week. And he said his focus from the very beginning of the videos was to provide value to his clients, to his potential clients. And he said he was just wanting to give plumbing tips to people. He goes, people call me out for stuff that they can fix themselves. I don't always have to go. So that was his point. Well, as a result of all this, Roger now has 336,000 YouTube subscribers. His influence has spread way beyond YouTube. I mean, he's huge on LinkedIn, which is somewhat, because he doesn't really specialize in commercial plumbing. It's more residential, but he's also got a huge following on LinkedIn. And then he's been a guest on TV, radio, podcasts, and I mean, like national news, just because it's so unique that a plumber by trade has become such a social media influencer. So he is a great example of somebody who not only educates, but also entertains, and it's really just by virtue of his personality, and he's gotten really comfortable being in front of the camera. So I'm going to play just a snippet of one of his videos. Whether or not you want to learn about plumbing or need to learn about plumbing, you have to admit he's pretty good at what he does. So I just wanted to use that as an example. And again, he's a plumber, so just about anybody can do this. Okay, not anything bad against plumbers. You just don't. They're just not typically social media superstars. Okay, so that's a lot of work, what he does. He spends a lot of time making those videos. And he, at this stage of the game, because he's been doing it so long, he has people on his internal team that help him produce it and edit and write his content and whatnot. And then, obviously, he has plumbers that work for him that go out and do the actual work. And that's one big point that I forgot, because that was a question that I asked Roger. I'm like, okay, that's great that you have all these followers and you're doing all these media appearances, but how has it impacted your business? And he's like, you have no idea at all how much my business has boomed and grown because of this of doing this. So that takes care of that question right there. But it leads to the next question. You know, is it worth the time and effort to do this? I mean, being consistent takes time and effort and dedication. Well, there's 3 reasons why it is worth it up there on the slide. Because you can increase repeat business and generate referrals from people that you already know, that have already bought your product or service, generate new business from people who don't know you, and when you give the right kind of content, you position yourself as the expert and the best choice when somebody is looking for your product or service. So in a nutshell, being consistent and communicating on a regular basis keeps you top of mind. Reason number 2 that your business needs a marketing plan is that it'll help you identify your best customer. I don't know of any business that can say everyone is their potential customer. The problem is that a lot of people think everyone is their potential customer, even if it's within a specific geographic area. But the problem with that is the challenge is, and what I tell my customers, the broader your target market, the bigger your budget has to be to reach them. So by honing in and really identifying your target customer, you can reduce your marketing budget. Your marketing budget becomes more cost effective. Number two, you get quality over quantity. I mean, I would much rather get, a couple good leads a month than 10 leads for customers who aren't a good fit for me. And I'm sure everybody would agree with that. And then it lets you refine your messaging. When you bring your target market from this down to this, you really know who you're talking to, and you can really figure it out. So what you're communicating is on point. It speaks directly to them, to their problems, to their challenges, why they should buy from you. And we're going to talk more about how to identify your target customer in the last section. Reason number 3, clarify your marketing strategies. And I know that this is something many of you is a challenge right now, just from speaking with you at the beginning. There's so many options out there, and you don't know what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what's going to generate the best results for you. So by honing in on what the best marketing strategies are for you, you eliminate the shotgun approach. You're not just blasting your message everywhere, including to a bunch of people who aren't your target customer and are never going to buy from you. You get the most bang for your buck, a lot better ROI, and again, you generate more leads. Reason number 4 that your business needs a marketing plan is that if it's done correctly, it is your roadmap to guide your growth. Once I ain't gonna lie, it takes some work on the front end to put the plan together, but once it's put into place, you can put it on autopilot in a lot of aspects. There's still work to be done, but you're not constantly starting over. Okay, what am I doing this month, or what am I doing this quarter? It's already put into place for you. And once that happens, once it's put into place for you, then you can do more long-term planning. Again, you're not focusing on, what do I need to do right now for the event that I'm hosting next week? You've taken care of that, 2 months ago. And then the last one, achieve goals. A marketing plan above all else has to support your business goals. So having the plan in place holds you accountable to it. What am I doing this month to reach that goal at the end of the year? And so you're not waiting till the end of the year to go, oh my gosh, I didn't meet this goal, but had I, stopped and thought about it at the end of the third quarter, I could have put some things into place to help me get there. And then reason number 5, your business needs a marketing plan, is to save you time and money. And I think we all could say, want to save ourselves some time and some money. Obviously, you once you get your marketing plan in place, you can focus on other areas of your business, have additional funds maybe to launch a new product or a service that you've been wanting to do, perhaps hire new staff. Or again, try something new. When putting together a marketing plan is an ideal time to try something new, to brainstorm, and not just stick with what you've been doing. So, in summary, those are the 5 reasons that you need a marketing plan. Just if nothing else, just take a step back and look at the big picture of your business. I'm going to take a quick break. Okay, section 2, 3 mistakes that will tank your marketing plan. Believe me, there are more than 10. I've seen 100, but I narrowed it down to the 3 most common ones that I've seen business owners make. And the first, and what the result of this is, you end up with a marketing plan it's unrealistic, so it becomes useless very quickly. It fails to meet its goals. It doesn't take into account the unexpected, which we all know unexpected things come up that have to be addressed, and no results or low ROI. Okay, mistake number 1 is going with your gut. And what I mean by going with your gut is not doing research, not collecting feedback, information. So you make decisions that are based on guesses and estimates and, well, I think this is what we should do, or I think this is what our customers think about us. And, no. Your marketing plan needs to be based on decisions on facts and figures and data. So these are some of the things, and when I put together a marketing plan for a client, I have a long laundry list for the research phase of the process, and I've just put a few up here. The first thing you need to do is review what you have been doing, review your past marketing activities, and at the very least, you need to be able to know what generated the most leads, because that's something you definitely want to keep on your list. And conversely, what was a complete waste of money? And even better if you can figure out why it didn't work. Sometimes something didn't work, but it just needs some tweaks made to it, and it will generate results. The second one up there, business challenges. Your marketing plan needs to take into consideration any big challenges or changes that that are going to be happening. Maybe it's staffing. Maybe it's materials. I know that's an issue right now for a lot of people in the construction and building industry. Is it cash flow? Are you wanting to move to a new location or an office? All that affects your marketing plan. And then the third one up there is a customer survey. This is something at a minimum that should be done once a year to your existing customers, because they can tell you a lot of things. But two things that directly affect your marketing are how they found you and why they chose you. And then competitor analysis, and I'm not suggesting you do a full-on SWOT analysis, but from a marketing perspective, I do recommend, picking your top 2 or 3 competitors and looking at their social media channels, looking at their website, looking at their collateral materials or their print ads or any kind of marketing that they're doing. And if you can get their pricing or their sales numbers or anything like that, all of that is just good to know, good information to have, and how it compares to what you're doing. And then, of course, you need to have some financial numbers. We're going to talk about budget more in a minute. But, your gross revenue, your net revenue, your marketing expenses. So the results of going with your gut are you misjudge who your target customer is. So therefore, your marketing tactics don't work, and you have very low results or low ROI. Mistake number 2 is putting all your eggs in one basket. I am a huge believer, firm believer, in that you must have an integrated, diversified marketing plan so you can reach your target audience from multiple directions. Not everybody's on Facebook, believe it or not. And then what the most common example of this that I see is business owners thinking all they need to do for marketing is social media. And 99% of the time that is not the case. So what ends up happening is that you reach a very small percentage of your target audience, or you completely miss them altogether because you're only in one spot, but your customer is in these other 3 spots. And no results or low ROI. And then the last mistake number 3, underestimating the budget. I've been doing marketing and PR for a long, long time, and I don't think one time have I ever seen somebody overestimate their budget or have money left over at the end of the year. It's always the opposite. And I think we all know what happens when you run out of money on something. It doesn't get done, it doesn't get finished, or it doesn't get finished the way it was supposed to. So, and you miss good opportunities. Again, it kind of goes back to what I said a minute ago about unexpected opportunities. If something great comes up maybe halfway through the year, but you don't have some extra money in your budget, then you're going to miss out on that opportunity. And I cannot tell you, probably 9 times out of 10, when I meet with a new prospective client, they have no idea what their marketing budget is or what it should be. And it's impossible to put together a marketing plan without a budget, because it's going to look like this way if they have $5,000 to spend, but it's going to be a whole different plan if they've got $25,000 to spend. I mean, it would just be like somebody wanting to build a house. You know, if you're a home builder and they came to you and said, I want to build a house. And you said, okay, well, what's your budget? I don't know. I mean, you know, a $300,000 house looks a lot different than a $600,000 house. So it's just, the whole process is a waste of time if you don't have a really good handle on what your budget is. So again, that summary, the 3 mistakes that will tank your marketing plan, going with your gut, putting all your eggs in one basket, and underestimating the budget. Section number 3, 6 steps for a kick-butt marketing plan. This last section talks about the how. You know, we've talked about the why, we've talked about what not to do. This is the how. And again, it's a condensed version of, you know, of what I do for clients or teach in my workshop and online course, just for the purpose of today. But it still hits all the important aspects. So what I've done for today for an analogy is I'm using a construction analogy. So the first 3 steps of the process are what I'm calling the pre-construction phase. These things must be done before any action is taken. These are the foundation for your marketing plan. And again, just like building a house, I guess is a good way to put it. Just like building a house, there are steps in the marketing plan that have to be done in a certain order. You know, like you can't do the framing on the house before you've poured the foundation. Well, you can't, for the purposes of this, the first thing you need to do is define your business goals, because everything you do in your marketing plan has to tie back, has to support your business goals. Otherwise, you know, why are you doing it? Okay, sometimes clients get stuck here, or they're not really sure what their business goals are. So I've put some things in place to guide them or to help them identify them. You know, first of all, they're big picture. Your business goals should be big picture. And they need to be your top priorities for growth. And what I mean by that are the things that are really going to move your business forward. I mean, these need to be big. And they also need to be based on the research that you've done, so that you are identifying the right goals. You don't want to send your business down the wrong path by setting the wrong kind of goal. And ideally, I like to limit it to 3. Sometimes a client will come to me, with a list, 6, 8, 10 business goals. And I'm like, oh, no. Because what happens is your marketing plan gets so big when you're trying to accomplish that much that it's impossible to get done, or you can't afford it. So I limit it to 3. And some common goals for business goals, some common examples for business goals. Number 1, it could be from a sales perspective. For example, we want to increase annual revenue by 20%. Or it could be operational. We want to, add an in-house design team this year. Or it could be from a growth perspective. We're going to launch a custom home division. Those are great examples of goals. Now, those are pretty broad in scope, which is okay. But if you are able to make it a little bit more specific, that's even better. For example, say we're going to launch a custom home division by the end of the second quarter. So that pinpoints it a little bit more, and your marketing plan addresses it. So first and second quarter, that's where your focus is. Step number 2 in this process, and we've already talked about this a little bit, but is to identify your target market. That has to be done at the beginning. And target market or target audience, there's all kinds of different terminology for. All it means is that the people who are best suited to buy your products or services. And I have a list that I go through with clients if they don't already have, a very good profile of their target customer that we go through. And there's several ways that you can identify them. Obviously, first and foremost is location. That's usually at the top of everybody's list. But beyond that, there's demographics you can look at, age, income, if they're married or they're single, if they have kids, if they don't have kids. And then you can also look at their hobbies, occupation, job titles. And then as you get a little bit deeper into this, ask questions. What qualities do they share? What things do they have in common? Or are there some common trends or reasons as to why they need your product or service, or want your product or service? And once you start getting all this information and getting it together, you will have a really good, what I call a customer profile put together. And then step number 3, we're back to everybody's favorite part of the marketing plan process, is the budget. And again, this is early in the process. It's in the pre-construction phase. Because you can't build the house before you have the budget, right? And you can nail every other part of the marketing plan process. I mean, you can do everything else correctly, but if you get the budget wrong, it's most likely it's not going to work. And there's several ways to look at the budget process for this. Ideally, you have an annual amount, especially if you're trying to do a 12-month marketing plan. You really need to have that big number to look at so you can plan for that long. There's different metrics and there's different figures. You could say 10% of projected revenue or 5% of gross sales. Just depending on however, you've got your accounting and financial system set up. And then I have other clients who do it on a 6-month or maybe even a quarterly basis. They'll look at their budgeting process and tie it into their marketing plan that way. And then sometimes your budget can also be project-based. If you've got big projects, like you're building a new website, or you're doing a big corporate video, or you've got a big event planned, you can structure your budget around that. And then you also need to take into account any external resources that you need to implement the marketing plan, especially if you don't have an in-house team, if you need a copywriter, a graphic designer, an agency, somebody to shoot your videos, whatever the case may be. And then your budget needs to be reviewed every month, so you don't run out of money by the third quarter. Okay, so that was the pre-construction phase. Now we're moving into the building process, which has 2 steps: tools and timeline, and I translate those into action and accountability. So the first part is selecting your marketing tools. And so many times when a client comes to me, this is where they want to start. They want to start at step 4. Tracy, just tell me what I need to do. Tell me how you can help me. Well, I can't until you tell me what your business goals are, who your target customer is, and how much you can spend. Then we can talk about the tools that we're going to use to get you there. So the $1 million question that I hear a lot is, how do I know where to spend my marketing dollars? What tools should I use? Well, I have a list of questions to go through with clients, and I've got some of them up there on the slide, again. And a lot of this goes back to the marketing research that they've hopefully done. What are your current marketing activities? What has been the most effective? And then we also use the opportunity to have a brainstorming session. What new things, what new tools are available now that weren't available before that are a good fit for you to reach your target customer? And what new tools or resources are needed to implement those? How much will they cost? And what are your competitors doing? Okay, so your marketing toolbox. When somebody asks me, where should I spend my marketing dollars? The simple answer is, well, you need to spend your marketing dollars where your customer is. Is your target customer on Facebook? Well, then invest in Facebook ads. Is your target market in a certain location, a certain city? Well, then perhaps you sponsor some events or you host an event. Does your target market read a particular magazine? Then put a print ad in that magazine. But again, it all ties back to knowing who your customer is when you get to this step. And I've got a laundry list of marketing tools up there. I am by no means suggesting that you need to do all of these. And conversely, I'm going to remind you about the putting all your eggs in one basket mistake. I've never seen a case where somebody could just do one thing and achieve their business goals and make it work. So if any of you have an example of that, I would certainly love to hear it. The trick, of course, is figuring out which one of these, and there's things out there now that I don't even have on this list, but what goes in your marketing toolbox. And I've put together a lot of marketing plans, and no two marketing plans are identical, are the same. It is not a cookie-cutter process. It's very much customized to your business. Okay, step number 5 is the timeline. This is the accountability portion of the process because, I'll tell you what, a marketing plan without a timeline has a really good chance of not getting done. And I've seen it happen. And I'm also a firm believer of what gets written down gets done. So the timeline, just like the budget, there's some flexibility here. Ideally, I do it on a 12-month basis, but some clients, don't want to plan out that far. So we'll do it on 6 months, or sometimes we even do it quarterly, depending on their business and what they've got going on. Either way, I recommend reviewing it monthly just to make sure you're on track, you got done what you were supposed to get done, and if you didn't, why you didn't get it done. So, and the timeline includes your tools. It includes assignments, either for people on your team or people outside your team that perhaps you're outsourcing things to. It includes deadlines. It includes the budget for each tool or each project that you're working on. And what I set up when I do a marketing plan for a client is I set it up as an Excel spreadsheet. And at the top, I have, every month that the plan includes, and then along the side, I have the tools that we're using. I've got a column for, proposed budget, actual budget, target markets that they're reached. And so at any given time, like we're in July now, they could look out into, October, November, and see what's going to be happening in that month, or if we've made adjustments along the way. And anytime you make a change in that Excel spreadsheet, it also changes the budget, so you'll know at any given time where you're at on the budget. I did not include an image of that in this presentation, but if anybody, I have that timeline as a template, as an Excel sheet template. If anybody wants it, just give me your card afterward, or my email address is on the flyer on the table. I'm happy to share that. Okay, step number 6, and this is the punch list phase, which is what I'm using to talk about evaluating your progress and measuring your results, which, this step gets skipped a lot by business owners, just, because they're busy, or they think they already know, kind of the going with your gut thing. They think they already know the answers, but this step is the only way to really know if your marketing plan kicked butt or not. Okay. So there are, again, I have a checklist for this part of the process that we go through, but at the very least, you need to answer those 3 questions up there on the slide. What are your results? Did you achieve your business goals? Why or why not? And how are you tracking it along the way? What metrics or what systems did you put in place during the course of the year or the quarter or whatever it may be to know if it was successful or not? So one of the best things to do is to make sure that you always have a CTA, a call to action in your marketing so that you know if it was successful or not. You know, if you're sending people to if your call to action is to go to the website, well, then you need to check your Google Analytics. If your call to action was to call your business, then you need to make sure whoever's answering the phone is asking people that, or you have a dedicated number set up just for that marketing campaign. So those are a couple examples of that. And then this slide is a little bit more information that I was just talking about the way to result your marketing tactics, because oftentimes a client, the only thing that they're using to measure is revenue, which is fine. I get it. I mean, that's the whole point of marketing typically, is to generate sales and increase revenue. But there are other ways to measure whether or not something was successful. And again, it all ties back to what your CTA was. You know, if you're trying to generate leads, you know, are you just sending people to your website, or are you sending them to a dedicated landing page on your website where they fill out a form and you collect their email address, or at the very least, you can look in your Google Analytics for that specific page. If you just send people to your website, your homepage or whatever, it's really hard to track a specific campaign. We've talked about calls. You know, we've talked about traffic, events, if your call to action is to sign up for a list, and then emails. I hear some people say, email marketing's dead. No. Email is still the most effective way to reach your customer directly, you know, assuming that you have a database. So that's typically always something that I do for clients. And then, again, social media. I mean, social media is huge, but organic reach for businesses is almost non-existent. So if you're using social media as a communication tool, that's one thing. But if you want to use social media as a marketing tool, you have to allocate a budget for it. Whether it's, you know, through Facebook ad campaigns, or you're promoting a post, or you're boosting a video on your YouTube channel, or you're doing a campaign on LinkedIn. Every platform has some kind of ad program. Obviously, they're trying to generate revenue. Okay. Well, that is the end of the 6 steps to my process. And I also have this checklist as a PDF, a prettied up PDF file, if anybody would like me to send them that as well. Same thing, just give me your card. I'm happy to answer questions, or if anybody wants more information, I will be here. I'm going to be here for another 10, 15 minutes, happy to chat with you one-on-one. But I'm really hoping somebody has some questions. No? Okay. Yes. Oh, I can't hear you. Okay, he's asking about social media platforms and which one is best for your business. If you're a B2C, if you're a business to consumer, obviously you need to look at Facebook, because it is by far the most widely used platform across the board, you know, all ages except for teenagers. So if you're targeting teenagers, then no, you need to look at TikTok or Snapchat or whatnot. But if you're a B2B, a business to business, then you definitely need to be on LinkedIn as an example. Yes, sir. Oh.
What are your thoughts on TV marketing?
Oh, sorry. Yikes. Hey, well, if you have the budget and it depends. I mean, if you're wanting to reach a national audience, probably. If you're wanting to reach a local audience, they're much more affordable. I typically only do TV commercials if it's event driven. You know, and it has to be a pretty big, for example, I did PR for the Bedford Blues and Barbecue Festival, which happens every Labor Day weekend. And we did TV commercials for that because they were trying to drive people from a 4-hour drive time. But for most of my clients, quite frankly, they just don't have the budget. And again, they're not trying to reach that big of an audience. It just depends who your target market is. TV versus what? Maybe TV versus print? Or is that? I mean, again, it just depends who your target, it depends who your target customer is. You know, if you're just wanting to target people who live in, Fort Worth, for example, you know, if you just have a very defined target audience, then no, TV doesn't make sense. But if you're targeting people who live in Northeast Tarrant County, then putting a print ad in, for example, Community Impact News goes to every resident who lives in Colleyville, Southlake, and Grapevine. So that's a great tool for that. Anybody else? Yes. It is. I'm business to business. So, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I made the distinction between Facebook and LinkedIn. Now, I mean, I'm B2B. I mean, I certainly still have a Facebook page for my business, but I also spend just as much time trying to do more on LinkedIn. Now, what I will say about LinkedIn is their advertising, you have to spend a whole lot more money on LinkedIn to get results versus Facebook, but the distinction is you get a much better quality of lead on LinkedIn than you do Facebook. It just costs you a whole lot more to get it. But yes, B2B can be more, blogs, trade shows such as this, events, it has a whole separate, you have a whole different marketing toolbox for B2B than you do for B2C. Absolutely. Yes. He's asking about budget. Well, and I'll just give you this figure. The SBA, the Small Business Administration, they give out the percentages for a B2C, a business to consumer company, which as a home builder, that'd be you, that you allocate anywhere from 10 to 12% of your annual revenue to marketing. And for B2B, it's a little bit higher, which was surprising. It might have been like 12 to 14%. So if that gives you some idea of what that number would be. And then from there, for my fee, it just depends on what all that you're doing. If you're just doing, say, social media and email marketing, well, that's one budget. But if you're doing direct mail and you're hosting events and doing things with a realtor program and all that, then that's a different budget number, so to speak. Oh my goodness! Well, then you and I need to talk afterwards. Yeah. Anybody else? Nope. Okay, well, thank you all so much. And again, feel free to come ask me questions.